This video is brought to you by the Paladin Learn History app. The year is 1290 BC. The city of Memphis has just reached 100,000 people, making it a sprawling, cosmopolitan megacity on the banks of the Nile. Pharaoh Seti I rules an empire stretching from the deep, gold-rich deserts of Nubia to the war-torn mountains of Syria. But what was it actually like to spend a single day here? Not as a living god wrapped in gold, and not as a peasant farmer breaking your back in the mud, but as the middle manager navigating the most complex, obsessive bureaucracy on Earth. Using AI technology trained on surviving papyrus ledgers, ostraca shards, and archaeological records, we have reconstructed what 24 hours in ancient Egypt actually looked like. We are going to strip away the grand monuments and look at the real city, the choking dust, the endless mathematics, the deafening noise of the international river ports, and the terrifying power of the written word. From dawn to midnight, this is what life was actually like as an Egyptian scribe in the New Kingdom. Let's step back 3,300 years. The sun hasn't risen yet, but Memphis is already moving. You wake up on the flat roof of your house. It is the height of summer, and the interior rooms of your mud brick villa in the affluent northern district are too stifling to sleep in. So you, your wife, and your children sleep on woven palm frond mats under the fading stars. You don't sleep on a soft feather pillow. Your head is resting on a curved wooden headrest designed to keep your neck elevated. This isn't just for cooling in the suffocating heat. It protects your intricate, expensive wig from getting crushed and keeps scorpions from crawling into your hair while you sleep. The air is cool, carrying the heavy, fertile stench of the Nile's black mud and the distant, echoing braying of donkeys from the lower city. You head downstairs into the walled courtyard. You don't have indoor plumbing, but hygiene is a religious obsession in Egypt. A servant pours a jug of water, filtered through porous limestone, over your hands and feet. You brush your teeth using a frayed twig and a harsh abrasive powder made from ashes, eggshells, and pumice. Then comes the grooming. As a scribe, a member of the elite class, you must separate yourself visually from the filthy, unwashed masses. You are shaved completely bald, head and body, by a household barber using a small, hatchet-shaped bronze razor. This prevents the lice that plague the lower classes. You rub your skin with scented moringa oil to protect it from the brutal sun, and you dress in a simple, blindingly white pleated linen kilt. The crisp white fabric is your uniform and your armor. It is a physical, undeniable statement to everyone in the crowded streets that you do not perform manual labor. You do not sweat in the fields. You direct those who do. Before you leave, you prepare your weapons. You do not carry a sword or a spear. You pick up your pallet, a narrow, elegant rectangular block of cedar wood with two hollowed-out circular depressions, one for black soot, one for red ochre. You select a fresh stalk of sea rush, cut from the saltwater marshes of the delta. You place the end of the rush in your mouth and you chew the wood. You crush the stiff fibers with your teeth until it forms a perfectly fine, microscopic brush tip. You will taste the bitter, woody sap of this plant all day long. You tuck the pallet into the waistband of your linen kilt, grab a small leather pouch holding a pot of water to mix your ink, and step out into the blinding morning light. By 7 a.m., you are navigating the chaotic, unpaved streets of Memphis. There is no grid system here in the residential blocks. It is a winding maze of packed dirt, flanked by 2- and 3-story mud brick houses. The city is deafening. Women are on their rooftops, grinding grain on heavy stone querns. Street vendors are shouting, and the alleyways are choked with carts drawn by massive, heavy-horned oxen. You are heading toward Peru Nefer, the Good Journey. It is the massive shipyard, military base, and international port of Memphis. When you arrive at the docks, the noise and the smell are overwhelming. The port is packed with foreign ships, their sails dyed in brilliant colors. You smell the rotting fish, the pungent scent of imported cumin and coriander, and the unwashed sweat of 1,000 foreign sailors. You see Mycenaean Greeks trading olive oil, Canaanite merchants arguing in broken Egyptian, and Nubian mercenaries carrying heavy bows. But you are not here to trade. You are the IRS, the customs agent, and the quartermaster all rolled into one. You stand under a small linen awning on the docks, shaded from the punishing 90-degree heat, while dock workers unload a massive cargo ship from Byblos, a city in modern-day Lebanon. They are hauling massive, fragrant trunks of cedar wood. Egypt has no tall trees, only scrubby palms and acacias. Every single temple door, every sacred bark, and every royal coffin requires this imported cedar. Your job is pure, grueling mathematics. You sit cross-legged on a reed mat, unrolling a priceless sheet of papyrus across your lap. You dip your chewed rush into the water pot, rub it on the black soot cake, and begin to write. You aren't writing the beautiful, intricate hieroglyphs you see carved into temple walls. The birds, the snakes, the eyes. Those are Medju Netja, the words of the gods, reserved for eternity in stone. To write those out takes far too long. Instead, your hand flies across the page in a rapid, cursive shorthand called hieratic. It looks like chaotic squiggles and dashes, a highly evolved administrative script that only your elite caste can read. You are running incredibly complex geometry in your head, calculating the taxable volume of the timber. The Egyptians don't use decimals. They use a system based on the magical eye of Horus, dividing goods into halves, quarters, eighths, 16ths, 32nds, and 64ths. You are adding up hundreds of these bizarre, uneven fractions in your head, under punishing heat, surrounded by the deafening noise of the workers. If your numbers are off by even a single log at the end of the month, the vizier's auditors will find it, and the punishment for defrauding the state is brutal. By midday, the heat is a physical, suffocating weight. The glare coming off the white limestone walls of the city is blinding. Suddenly, a royal messenger arrives at the docks. You are summoned to the great palace of Memphis. This is not a normal occurrence. Your stomach tightens with a mixture of intense pride and absolute paralyzing fear. You leave the filthy docks and enter the royal precinct. The contrast is staggering. You walk through towering pylons painted in vibrant psychedelic reds, blues, and greens. The floors are polished alabaster, cool out of the sun. You are led into a massive audience hall filled with thick, intoxicating clouds of frankincense and myrrh. And there, sitting on a raised dais of gilded wood and electrum, is the living god, Pharaoh Seti I. You do not look at him. To look directly at the face of the pharaoh without permission is a capital crime. You immediately drop to your knees and throw your upper body forward, pressing your forehead entirely into the cool stone floor. You smell the earth. You stay completely still, your heart hammering against your ribs until a high-ranking priest taps your shoulder with a wooden staff, signaling you to rise to a kneeling position. The pharaoh is dealing with a geopolitical crisis. The Hittite Empire in the north is funding rebellions in the Canaanite vassal states. The king does not write his own letters, he speaks, and you capture his divine breath. You scramble to prepare a fresh, pristine roll of papyrus. The pharaoh speaks rapidly, his voice echoing off the painted columns, dictating a furious, thinly veiled threat to a rebellious prince in the Levant. Your hand cramps as you write furiously in hieratic, translating his royal, poetic anger into the cold, precise, legalistic formula of the Egyptian state. You are terrified of missing a single syllable. If you misquote the living god, you could be stripped of your titles. Your nose could be amputated, and you could be exiled to the brutal gold mines of the eastern desert, where men are worked to death in the dark. But you do not make a mistake. You are a master of the rush pen. When he finishes, you roll the papyrus, seal it with wet clay, and press the royal scarab ring into the seal. You have just drafted a document that will launch an army of 10,000 men. By 3 in the afternoon, the adrenaline of the palace fades, and you are sent back out into the grueling reality of the agricultural floodplains just outside the city walls. The Nile inundation has receded, and the harvest has been collected. Egypt does not have coins. Money has not been invented yet. The entire economy, The army's wages, the pharaoh's wealth, the temple offerings run strictly on grain, emmer wheat and barley. You are sent to the state granaries to oversee the final tax collections from the local peasant farmers. Because papyrus is incredibly expensive, it takes weeks to harvest the reeds, slice them, soak them, and press them into sheets. You don't waste it on rough drafts here in the dirt. Instead, a junior scribe hands you baskets full of ostraca, broken flakes of white limestone and shards of discarded pottery. You use these as ancient scrap paper. The peasant farmers, the fellahin, are dragged before your shaded awning. They are covered in mud, their ribs showing through sun-baked skin. They have harvested their grain, but one man has fallen short of the quota you calculated months ago when you measured his field. The AI reconstruction captures the absolute, chilling detachment of this moment. You do not argue with him. You do not show pity. You simply look at your limestone ledger, verify the fractions, and give a slight nod to the Nubian police enforcers standing beside you. They grab the farmer, throw him face down in the dirt, and pin his arms and legs. A man with a long, flexible wooden stick steps up and begins to ruthlessly caress the farmer across the back and thighs. The bastinado. And what do? You don't flinch. You dip your pen in the black ink, and you write down the exact number of blows administered. You record the beating as a line item on a tax ledger. This is the reality of the ancient world. The entire glittering golden empire of Egypt is built on the bruised backs of the peasantry, and your ink is the whip that drives them. There is a famous text you memorized in scribe school called the Satire of the Trades. It says, "The soldier is beaten like a papyrus roll. The baker is baked in his own oven. The farmer's fingers are always covered in filth. But the scribe directs the work of all others. He has no boss." Right now, as the stick falls, you know those words are absolute truth. By 6 in the evening, the administrative offices officially close. The brutal heat of the day breaks, replaced by the cool, breezy desert evening. But your work is not entirely done. You walk to the massive stone gates of the Temple of Ptah. A line of desperate people is waiting for you outside the walls. A woman whose husband is away fighting in Syria. A merchant involved in a bitter land dispute with his brother. Even a widow who wants to send a letter to her dead husband, begging his ghost to stop haunting her dreams. Because they cannot read or write, they are entirely at your mercy. They pay you in copper rings or jugs of beer to act as their voice. As the merchant rambles on, emotionally describing how his brother stole his cattle, you don't write down his exact words. You filter his chaotic emotion through the rigid language of the law, and here you use the red ink. You dip your frayed rush into the red ochre. You use red to write the start of a new paragraph, to highlight a specific date, or to mark the total sum of a debt. But red is also the color of danger, the color of the deep desert, the color of the chaotic god Seth. When you write the name of an enemy of Egypt or a dangerous demon, you must write it in red ink. And sometimes you draw a tiny hieroglyph of a spear stabbing the name. The Egyptians believe that words are not just symbols, they are living things. To write a word is to give it life. To stab the word with ink is to magically execute it on the page before it can escape and cause harm. You aren't just a clerk, you are a low-level magician, manipulating the fabric of the universe with soot and water. By 8 at night, the sun vanishes, and the city is lit by thousands of flickering oil lamps. Tonight, you are attending a banquet at the estate of a high-ranking priest. This is your world, the elite 1%. You sit on a beautifully carved wooden chair with cushions, not on the dirt floor. Servant girls, wearing cones of scented animal fat on their heads that slowly melt and perfume their hair, serve you roasted duck, gazelle meat, honey-soaked dates, and endless ceramic jugs of strong, thick, cloudy beer. You sit with the other scribes, the architects, and the physicians. You drink heavily. You laugh and trade gossip about the royal court, about which general is falling out of favor, about which priest is skimming silver from the temple treasury. You look down on everyone else. You mock the coppersmiths, whose fingers are burned and smell like fish eggs. You mock the jewelers whose backs are permanently broken from leaning over their hand drills. You are the masters of the universe, soft-handed and brilliant. But beneath the beer and the honey, there is a quiet existential anxiety that haunts every man in this room. You look at your own hands. They are soft, yes, but your fingers are permanently stained black with soot. Your knees ache with early arthritis from sitting cross-legged without back support for 12 hours a day. Your eyesight is failing from reading microscopic hieratic script in the dim, flickering light of oil lamps. You are literally giving your physical body to the papyrus. By midnight, you return to your villa. The massive city of Memphis is silent, guarded by the Medjay police patrols. Across the river, the massive dark silhouettes of the ancient pyramids of Giza and Saqqara loom against the stars, monuments to kings who died over 1,000 years before you were even born. You lie down on your mat, resting your neck on the wooden headrest. As you close your eyes, the spiritual burden of your profession presses down on you. You are a follower of Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom and writing. The Egyptians believe that when you die, you will enter the Duat, the terrifying underworld. Your heart will be placed on a cosmic scale and weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the feather of truth, cosmic balance, and justice. If you altered the ledgers to steal grain from a starving widow, if you ordered a peasant beaten for a tax he did not owe, your heart will be heavy with sin. It will sink on the golden scale. And the monster Amit, the devourer of the dead, will eat your soul, erasing you from existence forever. You are the ultimate judge of the living, but you know that an ultimate judge is waiting for you in the dark. Yet, as you drift off to sleep, you find comfort in the one undeniable truth of your existence. You think of the pharaohs building their colossal pyramids and their massive stone temples, obsessed with leaving a physical legacy. But you know the secret. Stone crumbles, statues are smashed, tombs are robbed. But the words you wrote today, the records, the poetry, the mathematics, the quiet, black ink on the crushed reeds, that is the true immortality. Long after the gold is gone, it is the scribe who will tell the future that Egypt ever existed at all. You are the memory of the world. And tomorrow morning, when the sun rises over the Nile, you will pick up your wooden palette, chew your rush pen, and write the empire back into existence for one more day. Thank you so much for watching.